Let's bring ourselves back to bodhicitta motivation. Remember our long-term goal, our long-term objective, to bring into the forefront of our mind the meaning of our life, the purpose of our life. And then with this strong determination to live according to that meaning, that purpose, of progressing on the path so that we can become ever more capable and wise in benefiting others and ourselves. Then let's talk about the Bodhisattva precepts today. There were a couple of things I thought just to comment on very briefly from Guy's teaching this morning, which was the what he went through first in the class. The rest of chapter 24, he went through it very quickly. But for me, that's one of the really juicy parts in the Karikas, because that is the whole section that proves the existence of the triple gem. Yeah? Because by using reasoning to prove that all phenomena are empty of true existence, then you can prove that it's possible to eliminate the ignorance and the afflictions. Yeah? If it's possible to do that, then you have the true path and the true cessation. Then you have the Sangha, then you have the Buddha. Yeah? So it's a brilliant argument from Nagarjuna's part to really prove to us the existence of the three jewels. Yeah? So when I know at the beginning of the practice, I used to go, how do I know Buddha even exists? Yeah? Sounds good, but how do I know Buddha exists? Yeah. So this is an incredible way to actually prove to ourselves. Of course, you have to have some feeling for the reasoning about emptiness to get it, and you have to understand a lot of different things about the path, but it's a way to do it. So there's that I wanted to comment on. And then there's the other thing. I remember, I didn't look at the book again, but I remember there being not just give girls to whoever wants them, but, when you're entertaining the ministers and other important people, as a courteous guest, you give them women to, as a courteous host, you give them women to sleep with. And it was kind of, I've always wondered about this, how people can realize the nature of reality, and yet some of these very, what seem to us, very coarse, conventional beliefs don't get questioned. I've always kind of wondered about that. If they just don't question them, or if, Nagarjuna felt like, okay, there's all these really important things he has to get across to the king. And if he challenges him on this one, the king's going to totally freak out and won't believe anything else. Because it's such a part of the culture, so he's just going along with the culture, But it's always puzzled me, if you want to help benefit all sentient beings, then why don't you want to liberate them from just being sex objects in somebody else's mind? I mean, because what a horrible trap to be, you're trapped in that role of just being a sex object, which is yuck, and yeah, it's just always surprising to me. Anyway, that I guess is our koan.
Yeah,
So that's what I mean. It could be something that he just saw that if he challenged that, because he was just working on the king, kind of, let's see the filth of the body, which is completely okay with me because all of our bodies are filthy, just work on that. But he's, don't question the social structure. Yeah. So maybe he was focusing on that one thing at a time with the king. Yeah.
Maybe he was hoping the king would see the contradiction.
Yes. Wouldn't that be nice? The king would always go, oh, they're human beings. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if reasoning that proves the Buddha, so if all things, if the source of our suffering are, karma, which comes from affliction, which is rooted in ignorance, and ignorance grasps at inherent existence, and yet things exist in the exact opposite way from the way ignorance holds them, then ignorance can be eliminated. Okay? So then if ignorance can be eliminated by generating wisdom, that's the true path. Okay? That wisdom is the true path. It brings about the elimination of degrees of ignorance. That's the true cessation. The true path and the true cessation are the last two of the Noble Truths. Okay? So they're also the Dharma refuge. Okay? So you have the Four Noble Truths in there, but you have the Dharma refuge. If you have the Dharma refuge, then there's got to be people who have realized it. So that's the Sangha jewel. I should have said Dharma jewel, now you have the Sangha jewel. If you have the Sangha jewel, then through people practicing the Dharma jewel more and more and purifying their minds, then the Sangha can become Buddha, and you have the Buddha jewel.
The week that I'm not reasoning behind this is more the week. I don't have a problem with what you just said, but then omniscience. The visual is omniscient.
Right.
And that seems like a week.
Yeah. Okay. The idea, the way His Holiness explains the whole thing about omniscience, is that the nature of the mind, okay, we say the nature of the mind is clarity and cognizance. So the very nature of the mind is to cognize things. So if it's not cognizing something, that means that there's some obstruction. Yeah. So some of the obstructions can be physical. I can't see on the other side of the wall. Some of them could be a defect in our sensory organs, so that they don't connect with the data. But then there's another kind of obscuration, which is the karmic and obscuration and the afflictions and the cognitive obscurations. Okay? So if you can eliminate all those obscurations that prevent the mind's very nature, which is to be cognizant and perceive things, if you clear away all those hindrances, then by its nature the mind's going to perceive everything. Yeah? Mm-hmm.
I only wanted to add that it's contradictory when you say, okay, you should deal with prisoners like this way, but deal with a woman like this way. So.
Yes, that is interesting, isn't it? Very compassionate towards prisoners, but women, it's another story. Yeah.
Stop hunting.
Right. Stop hunting. Stop hunting with a gun, but hunt with your lust. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Along the lines of the omniscience, this may be a dumb question, but Sargardana is saying, nothing is self-causing, and that everything arises dependently.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, we have a conventional truth of free will, that we can choose to follow the path of Bodhisattva or not.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that we have a certain set of causes and conditions. Coffee seed, if you will, is going to give us a coffee plant. How are those reconciled? The free will versus
Okay.
origination of things?
Yeah. It's quite interesting that the subject of free will and predetermination, that never came up for the great Indian philosophers. This thing that has been so much at the root of theistic religion never came up for them, probably because they think of things in terms of dependent arising, whereas if you posit a creator and a manager of the universe, then free will is, really a big deal. Yeah, but it depends how you define free will. If it means I can do anything I want independent of causes, then clearly that's impossible. Yeah, because there's got to be causes for things. So within there being causes there, then we can choose, this way or that. But I can't choose in the very next moment to speak Chinese because I haven't created the causes to do it. Okay? So, we shouldn't think of free will as you can do anything independent of causes and conditions, because that kind of situation doesn't exist at all. That is totally opposite to dependent arising. Okay. Yeah.
What is the argument to say, to affirm that the nature of the mind is clarity and cognizance?
Oh, that's just the definition of the mind, is clarity and cognizance. There's not a logical argument to prove it. That's just the characteristic of the mind.
But they could say that the characteristic of the mind is not to be clarity and not to be consciousness.
Yeah, but then you look in your own experience, and is the mind formless and does it know things? Yeah. It's like, what's the nature of fire, hot and burning? Yeah, you don't need a logical argument. That's just what fire is. Yeah. So, what's the mind? It's clarity and cognizance. Yeah. And then, with fire, you test that out. Is the nature of fire hot and burning? You put your hand in it, and yes, that's true. It's hot and burning. Is the nature of mind clarity and cognizant? Well, clarity, yeah, formless, true. Cognizant, yeah, the mind knows objects. Yeah.
How do you define clarity?
Clarity, there's different ways, but one of the ways means that it's formless, it lacks material substance. Another way is it has the ability to reflect objects. Okay. I'm just wondering, do you want to do questions and answers, or do you want to continue with the Bodhisattva vows? I'm okay either way. Just let me know what you want to do. Okay, let's just do Tracy's question, and then we'll.
Does the Buddha cognize objects non-dualistically, or does he cognize the mind and the beholder of the object?
The Buddha cognizes everything non-dualistically. Yeah, because dualism, any of the meanings of dualism is some kind of obscuration or pollution on the mind. So the Buddha doesn't have any of that. Yeah. But the Buddha is able to, truly existent things appear to the Buddha's mind, but not through the Buddha's having obscurations, but simply because the Buddha knows what appears to sentient beings' minds. And the appearances of true existence appear to sentient beings' minds, so the Buddha knows that. Yeah. It's like if, let's say you were clairvoyant, and your friend, they talk about this disease with falling hair, where your eyes see falling hair. Okay, so let's say you were clairvoyant. Your eyes don't see falling hair, because your eyes are in good shape. But if you're clairvoyant and your friend standing next to you is seeing falling hair, you would know that if you were clairvoyant that they were seeing falling hair. But that doesn't mean that you're seeing it from your side. You're just seeing it because you know they see it. Okay, like that. Okay, that's to Bodhisattvas. So we were in the middle of talking about the 5 obscurations, right? And we were getting onto the third one, which is ill will or malice. So he says, this one is the desire to cause harm to another being. It is brought on by incorrectly paying attention to an object that we consider objectionable or repulsive, or by brooding over the harm that others may have inflicted upon us. So incorrectly paying attention. There's this one mental factor called inappropriate attention. There's many kinds of inappropriate attention. One of them is considering impermanent things to be permanent, things that are dukkha by nature to be blissful, things that are impure by nature to be pure, things that don't have a self to have a self. And then also, other kinds of inappropriate attention exaggerate the beauty or exaggerate the harm of other objects, okay? So in the case of malice, we have, there's an object that we consider objectionable or repulsive, and, the inappropriate attention has really magnified that, yeah. And so, we have animosity, and we have the wish to strike back and harm. And then we not only have that, but sometimes we really get into it and we sit and brood about it. Well, this person said this to me. 15 years ago they did this. And then 14 years ago they did that. And 13 years ago they did the same thing. And 12 years ago. And, and we sit and we have our whole counter of all the things wrong that we consider this other person did. We never miss any of them. Yeah? And then we make a whole court case in our mind. There's the prosecutor and the judge and the jury, and we convict this other person for, doing horrible, disturbing, unforgivable actions, and they deserve to be flogged. And so we then meditate on how to flog them, whether we say something nasty to them or behind their back or punch them in the nose or tell their mother or, we think of what to do. So that's this one. Yeah. So this is a hindrance to develop concentration, don't you think? But what's interesting is we can get into a whole meditation completely focused single-pointedly on the harm somebody gave us and how much they deserve to suffer as a result, and planning step by step exactly what we're going to do to get even. Yeah. And so we can actually spend a quite long time without any distraction. Isn't that amazing? So what's the antidote to this one? Yeah, cultivating love. Of course, that's the exact opposite of what you want to do, which is why that's the antidote. Yeah, any of the Bodhichitta meditations, practicing patience, learning to look at the situation in a different way. Why am I feeling misery right now? Because of my own actions done in the past, under the influence of my own self-centeredness. Yeah. If I hadn't done non-virtue in the past, I wouldn't be receiving this harm, so.
What I do is
I remember the things that might have done the same thing.
Exactly, yes. I've dished out. Whatever this person's doing to me, I've done to other people many times. So why am I complaining when it comes back to me? Yeah. So you use any of these methods for practicing fortitude and patience, or the methods for generating love. Okay? And then you also can think of the disadvantages of it. Yeah? Because if you really want to develop concentration, sitting and, mulling over all the harm people have done and how they've been so mean to you, that's not going to help you develop samadhi. Is it? And it's also going to make you really quite miserable in the process. Okay? And then the fourth obstacle is attraction to desire realm objects. In other words, the 5 objects of the senses: sight, sound, smells, tastes, and touches. It arises when we find an object, such as sound, extremely attractive, and we either attribute qualities to it that it lacks entirely or exaggerate the qualities that it has. In other words, it is based on an inaccurate apprehension of the object's real nature. Here, we're not only not understanding the object's ultimate nature, we're not even understanding its conventional nature correctly. Because we're over, again, this is this inappropriate attention. We're exaggerating the good qualities or projecting good qualities that aren't there. And if we look at our lives, we are so under the domination of our senses. Yeah? I mean, just look all day long. We're so reactive to what appears to our senses. Now, there's something beautiful, there's a beautiful sound or a smell or a taste or a touch. We're so reactive to whatever sensory information we get. And not just reactive immediately, oh, this is too cold, or oh, that feels good. But then those sensory objects we start thinking about with our mental consciousness, and we build all sorts of stories about it. Oh, this object is so beautiful because I must be this fantastic, wonderful person, and that's why I'm coming in contact with it. But no, I don't really deserve it, so I should give it away. Or I'm worried and anxious because somebody else is going to take it, or it's going to get destroyed. And, we started out just on the basis of some sensory perception, and then we make this whole drama around it. Yeah, and that's the mental consciousness. But then just the immediate reaction to the sensory perception too. That has to do with the mental consciousness, but it just dominates our life. We're going along completely fine. Then we hear even a few words. Yeah? And we hear those words and we make up a story, and then we're furious, and then that takes over the whole day. Yeah? Or we're feeling really down, then there's some small beautiful thing we see, then all of a sudden the mind gets so excited, fantasizes this big something, and everything's wonderful. Yeah? So, we're so unstable, aren't we? Don't you think? We're completely unstable. And that's considered normal in this world. Isn't it? You're supposed to go up and get excited about beautiful things, and you're supposed to go down when there's unpleasant things. That's what being normal means. Yeah? All day long. Yeah? It's
No wonder we're tired.
Exactly. No wonder we need to go to sleep at night. It's exhausting. Being so reactive. So reactive. Yeah?
I just have definitely increased, right?
Hmm?
And this has decreased in the last century, so because we have so much more more influences us more.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I meant last teaching.
Yeah.
When you said 4 hours, Buddha said 4 hours is enough, but I was thinking, okay, no, nowadays we have so many different influences, more than maybe 800 or 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, you know?
Well,
Especially if you think of people who are living in the cities, you know.
yeah. Yeah, in one way you can look at it. You can say we have more things coming at us than people in a very simple society did. And the other way of looking at it, His Holiness always stresses that we sentient beings all have the same mind. It doesn't matter what historical period, you know. And you can be sitting in the countryside where there's nothing there and, you know, start making up stories about the trees. Yeah. Yeah, we do that. I mean, you can sit out here, it's so peaceful, and then, oh, that tree doesn't look right, we should move this tree here and that tree there, and trim this tree, and, you know, why is it the branches growing this way, and, you know. So in one way you can say we have more coming at us, but in another way that's also a function of our own mind, being so completely enamored by external objects.
So the degenerated state is more related to that you don't have so much connection to the Buddha Dharma, or?
Well, degenerated in the sense it could be because the environment, you know, comes more at us, but it also could be that our afflictions are very strong.
Stronger than centuries before.
That, well, sometimes when they talk about, you know, thought training being good for a degenerate age, when they talk about degenerate age, one of the qualities is sentient beings have very strong afflictions.
Why then? Why we have more now than before?
Because the book said so.
That's why I don't like to study them.
But you see, this is the whole thing. We can see that on one hand, the society has changed and there's more stuff coming at us. In another way, we have the same human mind, you know. In another way, you look at it, and yes, maybe people's minds have the afflictions are a little bit more active than in past centuries, but on the other hand, they're the same afflictions, aren't they? You know, and I mean, maybe you have, you know, Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin, you know, in the modern age, but, you know, who did you have? You had Peter the Great and, you know, Caesar and all these people in the past, too, you know? So, huh? Yeah, but they had the same mental state. If they had had the technology, they would have killed millions of people. It's just they didn't have the technology to do it.
It's completely false to believe that this age is more violent than in the past, and the likelihood of you being killed, even with Hitler and Mussolini and all those guys, is a lot lower than it was before.
Okay. We're getting off the topic, okay?
When they say degenerate age, I mean, they talked about the degenerate age back 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, they've always been talking about it. Yes.
So it's not like, they weren't talking about now. They were talking about their present.
Well, everybody always sees themselves living in the degenerate age. Don't we? But also, we're at the age where there's more hope and more people are tuning in. So, I mean, I consider all that kind of talk, I don't pay attention to it much. Because I think the real thing is, you know, what is my experience and what do I need to do to improve it? Yeah? Rather than building a case of, oh, it's harder now or it's easier now. Oh, what difference does it make if it's harder or easier now? It is what it is.
We were back in Venice too.
Yeah, right.
We're still here.
Yeah, right. We're still here, so.
But I was just thinking cause and effect. You know, we don't know, we don't control that, right? It comes and maybe that's why now it's like that, because
Yeah,
everything came together and
we created the cause to be born in the situation we're born in. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so what's the antidote to that? Besides getting all distracted. debating whether it's worse now or better now. Huh? Yeah, meditation on impermanence and death. Yeah? If we really think about, but that meditating on impermanence and death assumes that beforehand you have meditated on precious human life, its rarity, and its purpose. Yeah, you have to do that meditation on precious human life beforehand. Otherwise, if you just meditate on impermanence and death, you come out with the wrong conclusion. Okay? So you have to see your life as something valuable and precious, and then see, oh, it's hard to get. It has great meaning, but the time's clicking away. Yeah. So given that the time's clicking away, am I going to let my mind get distracted and so reactive to every small thing somebody else does? Yeah. Because that's the way our mind, every small thing, it's all related to me. It means they like me, it means they don't like me, it means I'm worthwhile, it means I'm not worthwhile, it means the world's ending, it means the world's not ending. This is so reactive to external things. And so, considering that we have this ability to practice the Dharma, and that time we have to practice is getting shorter moment by moment, do we have the time to waste getting distracted by all the stupid adagios? We don't. We don't have that time. Yeah. So then, okay, all these, we have this pattern with stupid adagios, and they come in the mind, and then you say, I just don't have time for this. Goodbye. Yeah. That's the time when we should be saying, oh, I don't have time. Yeah? Usually, it's time to, study the Dharma text. Sorry, I don't have time. It's time to go to retreat. I don't have time. No, it should be, no, this person looked at me, cross-eyed, and it means that I'm totally a horrible person and they're rejecting me forever and my life's meaningless. That's the time when we need to say, I don't have time. I don't have time for those stupid adagios. Yeah? Because they take up so much time, don't they? Yeah, your whole life. Your whole life. And this is the whole, you remember earlier in the book when he was talking about spending a lot of time talking about our childhood? It's like, that's the whole thing. We could spend our whole time talking about our childhood. And this happened, and that happened, and this happened, and that happened. And it's all external objects, And like, okay, there was conditioning there, but it's not happening now. And all that conditioning was just our, diluted interaction with external objects. It wasn't anything real and solid. Yeah? And it's not happening now. So who has the time to live in the past? When you have a precious human life and it's getting shorter moment by moment. Yeah? So, that kind of gives us some energy. Okay, it's time to cut some of this junk. Yeah, instead of holding it so dear, Oh. You know how it is? Yeah, my inner child, my trauma, I'm not trying to put down traumas. Yeah, people get traumatized. But it's not happening now. And it's over and done with. And, and it's just reaction to external things that are like illusions. Yeah? That we're perceiving inaccurately to start with. So, yeah, let's use our beautiful potential and do something meaningful. And I got to tell you my problems. Yeah. So I'm not saying repress stuff. I'm not talking about repressing it. Yeah. I'm saying just look at it for what it is. And it's like, where is it? Where is it? Yeah. Goodbye. Yeah. Goodbye. I'll hug my traumas one more time and then let them go home. You know, let them dissolve back into emptiness. I don't need to make them my identity. Yeah. Okay, the fifth obstruction is doubt. But I don't know if I can actually teach about this one properly. Which is defined as being of two minds regarding the truth. It is therefore a form of indecision or hesitation regarding important matters. This is the key words, important matters. We may be indecisive about whether or not we have had past lives or whether we have future ones, and whether or not there are such things as the three jewels, the Four Noble Truths, and the law of karma and its effects. This kind of hesitation is brought on by incorrect attention, here's this one, inappropriate attention, and naturally interferes with our concentration. Okay? So we, you know, again, and this is doubt about important things. It's not doubt like, you know, oh, did I turn the washing machine on to full cycle or half cycle? You know? Or did this person, you know, give me a dirty look once or twice? It's not that kind of doubt. This is doubt over important things. Okay? Because it's important whether there's past or future lives, that's important. You know, because that's definitely going to influence the choices we make in our life. Isn't it? You know? And whether or not the three jewels exist, whether or not it's possible to attain enlightenment, that's important because that's going to influence what we do with our life. Now, whether our actions have an ethical dimension is important. That will influence what we choose to do and what we choose not to do. Okay? So those kinds of things, when we have doubt about them, what's the antidote?
Investigate.
Yeah. Study, investigate, think about things, ask questions, discuss with your friends. Yeah. There's one kind of doubt that is this little spinning doubt, like, I don't know, make me believe. I don't believe in past lives, make me believe. It's your responsibility to make me believe something. It's not my responsibility. It's you got to make me believe. Where's that coming from? You know? So this kind of doubt that we have, then that's just useless, you know, kind of skepticism. Yeah, so put that with your inner child at daycare, okay? Lynn?
Where's the inappropriate attention, how does that figure into the doubt? So
Into the doubt? Because inappropriate attention will go, well, you know, I don't know. I did this action. Is it virtue? Is it non-virtue? How can, you know, I gave this person, you know, I gave them some poison, but I had a good motivation of compassion because they're going to use it to kill their enemy, you know. And is that really going to have a bad effect? Okay? So the inappropriate attention kind of doesn't know how to understand things properly. Okay? Or just the whole thing, you know, is the body pure or foul? Well, I think it's kind of nice, you know? Yeah, it's clean. It's, you know, Nagarjuna didn't know what he was talking about. Neither did Shantideva. Body's perfectly clean. I took a shower today. Yeah, that's an appropriate attention.
It's a mind that kind of like to twist itself around and around and around.
Yeah, well, it's the mind that doesn't see things clearly and exaggerates different things and makes up stories. The inappropriate attention is part of this creative writing department. Yeah.
Or create something like, I don't know why this person is hurting me. I've never hurt someone before.
Mm-hmm.
And we got lack of attention of my past deeds
Mm-hmm.
in relationship with
Oh.
inappropriate action. For example, the karma doesn't work because I've never done this before.
Right. If you start doubting karma in that way, say, I never did anything to anybody. Why are they doing anything to me? Karma doesn't exist. Yeah. That would be a good example. Uh-huh.
In the Precious Garland, Nagarjuna did distinctly weaken faith
Mm-hmm.
as far as faith and karma or rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
So my understanding is that there are some things that you just have to, as Guy said, it's a prerequisite
Mm-hmm.
to that reasoning.
Yeah. Okay. So the karma and its effects, they say that only the Buddha fully understands it. So, but there's a lot of debate about what that means. Does that mean just the general principles of karma, only the Buddha really understands it, or does it mean just the details of, you're sitting in this room because you did 50 million and 2 lifetimes ago this action that took 5.5 minutes, So is it that kind of detail that definitely everybody agrees that only the Buddha has that, okay? But then the general principles, I think there's some way where you can get some kind of general feeling for the general principles, Because, you can get some feeling that if you have a generous, open heart, that creates some kind of energy. It makes sense that generosity is the cause of wealth, doesn't it? It makes more sense than stinginess is the cause of wealth. Yeah, which is the normal way people think. If I'm stingy, then I'll be wealthier. But if you really think about it, is stinginess the cause of wealth, or does it make more sense that generosity is the cause of wealth? Huh? And this whole thing about practicing patience makes you more physically attractive. Well, even in this life, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, when you're angry, people's faces are so ugly. So it makes some sense that, if you practice patience, then in a future life, more attractive. So those kinds of things I think we can get some idea about. Uh-huh.
Even one way of translating from Sanskrit dana, the word dana, is wealthy.
The dana usually means generosity.
Yeah, but I think one of the ways to translate it
Uh-huh.
riches or wealthy or something like that.
Uh-huh.
It means generosity, but also can mean
The wealthy.
Mm-hmm. If you give,
I see. Yeah. Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Oh, so coming back to your thing about faith. So I think there's some things that you can get some kind of idea about just by thinking about them in some spacious way. Yeah. You may not have the clairvoyance that can see, oh, why did I have lunch today? Well, it's because in a previous life I gave so-and-so some food. You may not have that detail, but you can get some kind of feeling about it. Yeah. What I thought was so interesting about that faith and wisdom, talking about that, is in the Pali Canon, the first, well, not the Pali Canon, but when we talk about the Eightfold Noble Path, the first one is right view. When you first start practicing, right view is the first thing you develop. And there, right view refers to having some kind of conviction in karma and its effects. Because that's what you need at the beginning of the practice in order to begin practicing. Because if we don't change our ethical dimension, actions, the rest of practice is going to be pretty difficult. And so then they explain the Eightfold Noble Path, starting with right view and right intention and, going through the 8. When you get down to mindfulness and concentration, then you come back to right view again. But this time, when you come back to right view, it's right view that understands the ultimate, that understands nirvana, that understands emptiness. So you start out with some kind of right view about karma and its effects, which is the faith thing. And then you come around after practicing all the other 7 factors, you come around to right view again, but this time it's a deeper level of right view. Yeah, which is the wisdom.
I think one important thing about doubt is to remember that you have an obscure idea about what you're doubting. In other words, you're doubting this is how I do it. I'm doubting how I hold this concept. I don't really know the true meaning of when I have doubts about it. I say, well, I doubt, so if I have this unified view of things, that things are real, and then say, well, I doubt that there's a Buddha, the picture in my mind is a solid, self-existent Buddha.
Right.
So that's when I'm doubting. So I don't have a good concept of that I'm thinking about. And there's when my doubts are coming in.
Yeah.
I'm doubting, thinking about things the way I've always thought about them. And I haven't developed the wisdom to see things in a more spacious way.
Yeah. Okay, so when our mind's afflicted by doubt is to remember that we don't perceive everything accurately. So of course there's going to be doubt and misconception and confusion in the mind. Yeah, and so then it stops us from getting so reactive to the doubt. Oh, my doubt is bad and I'm bad and, all of that kind of stuff. Well, of course, I don't perceive the nature of reality. So let's get to work here. Okay, in general, there are a number of factors contributing to the appearance of afflictions like attachment in our mind. The Lamrim gives 6 causes that can be condensed into 3. The first general condition is the presence in our mind stream of the seed of affliction that we have yet to eradicate. We're out of time. Okay, we're going to come back to this because I'd like to actually spend some time talking about these 6 factors that make the afflictions arise. So we will stop here, and then when we resume the Bodhisattva, because I'll be away next week, then we'll resume with those. Okay?
Start with the seeds of affliction.
Yeah. It's in the Lamrim if you want a preview. Yeah. Yeah.
But how to think about what that seed
is. Yeah. Well, it's, that big. Okay. And it's kind of, maybe, a little bit brownish, but no, it has a purple at the top, and you can roast it and eat it for lunch, and, Okay, but if you eat it, you're eating the seed of affliction, so the affliction's gonna grow in your stomach, and it's gonna come out, with all its flowers and everything.